Okay, so I want to start this year off with just a little recap of how I work my designs. The first thing I'll tell you a little bit about, just for those that are new, just to remind you. Okay, first of all, this is not like freeform knitting where you're just knitting random, patterns or random designs. Even though I do not have written patterns, and I want to say that right up front, I do not produce written patterns of my designs. I have notes and I have, layout of the pattern, which I am sharing with you on the YouTube. So that instead of buying a pattern, you just simply can find the pattern on the YouTube and follow it step by step. It's just easier for me that way because, like I said, I knit all the time. And, just to sit down and try to write a pattern and rewrite it, it's just easy for me. And I enjoy your company. I enjoy just sharing it step by step. Like I say, I'm not a professional. I'm not an expert. I'm just having fun. I enjoy knitting, and I'm just knitting things that I like to knit in my life. And all I'm doing is sharing it, and you're welcome to enjoy it. That's all there is. There's nothing else that I'm trying to do. I am happy doing what I'm doing and enjoying your company. First of all, like I said, I do not have written patterns, and what I'm trying to share with you is how to create your own design. Really, that's really what it is. How to use a stitch book, how to find your own size, and how to get your pattern to fit, how to take your the stitches that you like and turn them into a nice wearable project. Like I said, this is the year that I hope you want to knit or crochet for yourself. My designs are simple, like I said, because I'm not a professional or an expert. And I try to use simple construction. But like I said, it's not freeform knitting. It is knitting by basic knitting principles and rules and stitches and, everything that you normally would find at knitting with anyone else. I just don't have written patterns. And I go about my construction just a little different. So that's what I want to share with you. All right, first of all, just a quick recap of, because I can't go back over all the tapes, but I have Jay's knitting, I have a notebook video that goes over some of the detail, and I'll put all that out so that you can see it. I'll put that up in the description box. But for example, here's a nice little form. My friend Paula gave me this. So I'm going to use it. I'll call her Paula. Okay, so here's my friend Paula. Oh, she'll get a big kick out of that. Okay, so, like I say, I want to knit a sweater. I just, that's mainly what I knit, are large items. I don't do a lot of hats. I love scarves, and I'll do scarves. And I like shawls, and you've seen the things I knit. And I have like 3 really good categories or styles of sweaters that I like. The first one is like a square, where you just take 2 squares about, and you make them, put them to the size that fits you, and then you sew your shoulder seams and then your side seams, leave your arms open, and you have a nice sweater using a pretty stitch and a pretty yarn, of course, to make it beautiful. The next one is the phase we're in now, is where I come over the back, come up the back, separate at the neck for the right and left fronts, and come down. And it's just that simple. It's not anything. What we're going to try to do is help you find your correct size or your correct numbers. And that's what I want to talk about. Okay, first of all, let me just go through this. The easiest way, and this will work no matter what needles you like to knit with. All right, I knit with size 8. This is just a sample here now. Size 8, size 9, and a size 10 or 10 and a half. So I have 3 needle choices just right off the bat that I would like to knit with. Okay? Then I normally use medium weight yarn, worsted yarn, okay? And you can look on your band, your yarn band, and it's designated by the number 4. Medium yarn, number 4, and it usually calls for a number 8 needle. Sometimes they'll call for a 9, like Vanna. So, my needles of choice is number 8, 9s, 10s, or 10 and a halves. You could easily do what I'm going to show you and share with you with, you might just like smaller yarn. You might, I really don't like that. Okay, then you could go 6, 7, 8. You just need 3 needle sizes and the appropriate yarn weight for at least one of those needles. So if you did 6, 7, 8, you'd have yarn that is suitable for a size 6 or at least a size 7. My yarns are always suitable for size 8. But I can, once I find how I'm going to show you how to find your numbers, I can work with 9s, 10s, and even 10 and a halves and still have a nice fit. I don't know how this sounds, but when I first said it, I was so nervous. But you know what? Nobody seemed to like, oh, so I'm just going with it, people. So what I do, first of all, everyone, if you've been knitting a while, and if you're new, you're just going to have to kind of listen until we get into a project. You know, the first thing you do, and all patterns, or just about everything calls for it, you knit a swatch. And a swatch is just a piece of fabric that you knit. Say if my needle size is 8, is what I normally would use. I'd find some yarn that's comparable to an 8, or compatible, that's what I want to say, excuse me, to an 8. And I'd knit my swatch, however many, rows you want to knit. And then what you do, you sit down and you have a ruler, and then you sit down and you count how many stitches, use it to the inch that you need, in this swatch. Well, I tried to learn the swatch method and all that, and I just couldn't get it because every time I would knit something, the swatch doesn't take into the effect the stretch or the real feel of your body. It's just a piece of fabric that you've knitted. It might fit, but it may not. So one day I just took matters into my own hand. This has been years ago. Like I said, I've been knitting this way for years. I got myself a measuring tape, and I just measured. You don't have to go all the way around. I just went from where I'd like my sweater to fall to end. And I went and I just measured from my right side to my left side. From my right side across the front, because usually us women have a little something in the front too. I'm not talking about hips now. I'm talking about where you'd want a sweater. These are not hipsters. These are where you'd regular in a nice little sweater. So from my right side to my left side, and I take that in inches. Okay, I don't know about centimeters and all that. All this is in U.S. inches. Okay, so for me, say if I'm 25 inches, just to make it, or 24 inches, just to make it easy to work with. 24 inches from right side to the left side. So I'd write that down. First thing I'd do is write down, 24 inches. Okay. Now, the next thing I would do, like I said, you could swatch, and if you count your swatch, excuse me, okay, and you'd measure out using a ruler or you know, they have a little swatch gauge, and count it out. It normally works out to be about 4 stitches to the inch. Well, 4 times 24, or 4 times say 25. I'll make it 25, make it come out so you can understand it. All right, so that's usually well, that's 100. Well, I already know that 100 stitches on a number 8 is too large for me, even at my present weight. It's just a few stitches too large. And you think, well, that's just a few stitches, and you know, but you have to remember, the swatch does not take into the stretch factor of knitting. It's just a swatch, you know. But when you knit and put it on, it is going to stretch, and you're really adding a lot more stitches than you think, you know, by doing it that way. So I came up with, this is just me now, I'm just sharing. I made myself a real-time tape, real-time measuring tape. And let me share with you how I did this. And I'm going to try to pace myself on the camera so my camera won't run out right in the middle. First thing I did, I picked it, looked through my stash, and I picked out yarns that I really like, you know, that I'm going to use a lot, or that I've been using a lot. So right here is Karen Simply Soft. That's just a yarn I always use for a lot of soft things, or nice sweaters, little, you know. Okay, that is a number 8 needle, Karen Simply Soft. So I sat down and I cast on just a whole bunch of stitches big enough to wrap around me. See, it's like a measuring tape. See, I just cast on a whole bunch of stitches on my number 8 circulars while I'm watching TV. Okay, now you might think, oh gosh, Jay, look at all. Yeah, but once you do this, you don't have to ever do it again. You don't have to really swatch. You're gonna see how it works. Okay. So once I got that, I did a 1x1 rib. Then I did some stockinette, and I did it for about 2 or 3 inches in my number 8 on my Karen Simply Soft yarn right there. Then I simply moved up a needle. I went to a number 9, and I got the yarn that I when I'm working with a number 9, and that's Vanna. I always like and her yarn calls for a number 9, and I just continued the pattern. I mean, I just kept right on knitting, and I did that for about another 3 or so inches, and I end this time with a 2x2 rib, just to have it already on here. See, 1x1 rib, 2x2 on my 9. Now watch, when I'm done and I feel like, okay, I've got about 5 inches or so of all this fabric. All right, this is my tape measure. This is my swatch, but it's like in the form of a tape. All right, I take some masking tape, because you'll never remember this, believe me. Take some masking tape, and on the back, on the masking tape, I write down Karen's yarn number 8 right there. And I put Vanna's yarn, or Vanna, number 9 on the correct side. Does that make sense? Now it's always there, and on my tape. I will always have this. Now, like I say, if I'm working with Karen Simply Soft or other yarns, say Hobby Lobby's Soft Secret, or anything that's, you know, of the same weight, I can simply take that yarn, this tape, put it up around where I want the sweater to end, give it a nice pull because it will stretch a little bit, and I'd have markers. Okay? And then once I mark it, and you may have to do this a couple of times, maybe more than that, to get a good number, to get a good fit, to get the idea of this first. So you'd stretch it around where you kind of want it. Then you'd have, have some safety pins or some kind of little markers, markers there. Then you're going to sit down and you're going to count. You're going to take your time. I get me a double pointed needle or something to help me count, because after a while the stitches start running together. So I go 1, 2, 3, and I count 4, 5, 6, and I count the number that it took to go from my left side, from my real waist, across the front to my right side, okay? And I take that number and I write it down on, you have your little scratch pad. I write it down. Okay. Now, this is the thing that helps you. Whatever that number is, okay, say if that number is 89. Say it was 89 stitches. You go, okay, I've done it 2 or 3 times, and look like I keep coming out around 88 or 89 stitches. All right, take that number and round it either up or down to the nearest number divisible by 4. This will make your life so much easier, and you will not be, I'm going to have to just show you when we get to our actual knitting project. So round the number up. If you keep coming up with 89, just round it back down to 88. That becomes your number. 88 stitches. Mine is 92. You know, maybe mine was 90 and I just rounded up to 92. You know, if I wanted it a little snugger, I could have rounded back down to 88, you know. But I always like to go up a little bit. I never know how my diet's going to go. So, you round the number off. Okay, up. Round that number off to a number divisible by 4. And that becomes this bottom of your sweater or top. That's only for the front. Of course, you have to have that same number will be on the back. You see? So if I was doing one where I came all around, you know, completely around, then I'd just simply add 88 and 88. That takes in the stretch factor and everything, because I stretched it and pulled it and counted it several times. And the reason I have you to round it off to 4, a number divisible by 4, because it's going to make your life wonderful, being able to just separate for fronts and necks and putting your sleeve in and everything. It just makes it a lot easier. You'll see. I'll show you. So you go, okay, all right. So that becomes that number. Then, of course, you need to have a number. You need to take your little tape and you need to give me a measurement from the top of your shoulder down to where the to where that sweater stops. And normally I use 20 inches. And these numbers are your base. These are numbers that are your base numbers. So 20 inches will work for me for that. Then, of course, eventually you're going to have to find how many, how many inches would be an opening for a sleeve. I use anywhere from 8 to 9 inches. It depends on, what I'm making. But at least I know how many inches it takes for my sleeve opening. All right. Now, let me see how much time to. All right, let me check my camera because I don't want it to stop right now because I really want to get through this and show you, because this is going to be probably a 2-part video to get this cardigan in. But once you get it and once you understand this, you just write it down and you're done. So I'll be right back. Okay, so you think, well, what else can I use this I guess you'd call it a swatch tape or my little tape for? Well, a lot of things. For instance, on this sweater, on this cardigan we're going to make, if you had a pattern, they would simply tell you how many stitches for your sleeves. And right off the bat, I get a pattern and it'll say, well, for your sleeve, to pick up stitches, pick up 80, pick up, 80 stitches, or pick up, they give you a number of stitches to pick up or whatever. All right. But since I work with my own numbers, And these are numbers I use over and over. I don't hardly ever change the numbers because these are numbers that fit me. I simply change the pattern to make the pattern fit my numbers. So for instance, I know my best sleeve is 68 stitches. Now, since we round everything off, all our numbers are divisible by 4, we round off to numbers divisible by 4. It creates a range. It creates a range in every measurement we do, or every stitch count, and that measurement is at least 4 stitches. So my sleeve would be from 68 to 4 more stitches up to at least 72. It's just a range, and it's separated, by those 4 stitches. But I know that my best sleeve, like I say, is 68. It looks nice on my arms. It's not bagging or hanging or anything. But now, say since we don't have a pattern and we're making our own pattern, and I find a stitch that I want to put in the sleeve, but I need more stitches than 68 to center it, to get it in the sleeve or to center the pattern on the sleeve. Well, see, I already have allowed myself 4 stitches because my range is 68 to 72. Okay. And just to show you how that would work, for instance, all right, so I'm going to, you don't know your sleeve. Well, you can just put a mark on your tape here. So I put a mark there, you see that? And then, for instance, I start, I know mine, so I count it up. Take your time, lay it on something like a towel so it won't move. Like I say, I use sometimes I use a double-pointed needle or whatever it takes so that you can, so that you can get to count it out. And I counted it out, and then I put a mark there. So there's 68 stitches right there. All right, well then I can just simply fold this and line my marks up as best I can, And then now I can try and put it, now I'm off camera kind of, but now this, first of all, you know that this is a sweater or a cardigan. So it's meant to be worn over something. You wouldn't wear an open down the front cardigan with nothing underneath. So I'd put on a t-shirt or one of my blouses or whatever, a sweater, and just put it on like I was going to wear it. And then I'd put my arm in there and pull it up, and then I could see how that number, because you're going to make it divisible by 4. And you see, so there's a lot of uses for this. So right there, I found my sleeve number. I didn't make a swatch. I didn't do anything. I just use this as my measure. Put a mark, put the 2 marks together, put a big safety pin or something to hold it so that you can get your arm in just like you were trying on a dress or something at a store or a blouse. I hope that's on camera. I can't get all the way in to the camera. But I pull it up as far as I need to go up on my arm to see what kind of room does my arm have in that sleeve count. See? Now, suppose I wanted to make a hat. And I'm thinking, okay, I want to make a hat out of this Vanna. Well, I would put a little mark so I can start counting. So I'd put a mark here. You just want somewhere to start counting. So I'm going to do it on the 2x2 rib because that's nice to do it for a hat. And then you'd start to count. That's 2, 4, 6, 8. And say if the pattern, or if you think, okay, I need 80 stitches. Well, you can count it out, and then, just like I did my sleeve, use a big pin to secure it in place or whatever around your 80 stitches. And then you can try it on over your head. And that will tell you right then on a size 9 needle, because I have this marked on my tape. This is Vanna's yarn. I used a number 9. This is Karen's yarn. I used a number 8 to do my sample. And that will tell you, using her yarn, what's a good stitch count and you can tighten it up and tighten it up. So if you started with 80, you think, okay, that's too loose. Then you just keep decreasing by decreasing the tape, pinning it in place, trying it on, and there you'd have your headband. And so on. Well, I guess you say, what? That's what I was afraid of when I first came on YouTube to share, and all I can say is, look, I'm just sharing. If this is just too much, just go get a pattern off of Ravelry. They have beautiful patterns, beautiful professionals over there. What else am I going to say? But everything you've seen, that's why I have lots of pictures, so that everything that I've made and things that I haven't even photographed yet, or in things that we're going to make, I'm going to do it just like I'm showing you. So now I have something to write down on my little card, or I call it my little cheat card, So now I keep things written down. Let's see, this might be a better one. My back, I'll mark down whenever, no matter, even if it's a pattern, if the number is a number that out of that pattern that fits a part of your body, and you like the way it fits, see what the number is, make it divisible by 4, because it will fit in with everything else as much as possible. And then you have your neck stitches, your sleeve. Mine is 68 to 72. There's always a 4-stitch. There's always a 4-stitch group, 4 stitches that separate to give you room to center, to add more stitches, or whatever it is you need, so you're never missing any stitches or any design. Now, this is strange. Okay. All right. We won't do bulky yarn yet, so we won't look at the bottom of this. We're going to work on medium, still on medium weight. All right. On my US size 8, 9s, and 10s. Okay. Like I say, there's a stitch range. When I count mine up, now I haven't recounted in a long time, but so far, I'm sure I've gained some, but so far, the numbers still bear out. I trust I trust the math. All right, pulling the yarn and using a number divisible by 4 on my size 8, I will cast on 92 stitches. That's where I start. That's what I look for. I start with that number. Then, of course, the pattern, the stitch might dictate that I might have to have a 1 or 2, or if I want a certain type border. But remember, I always have at least 4 stitches to go up to without it getting, okay, I'm getting way off now, So I have at least 4 stitches. So 92 plus 4 is 96. Well, I use 96 if I'm going to go up a needle size for a particular yarn, or just that it calls for a 9, then I will use 96. Now, I know right now you're going to say, oh, Jay, but when you go up a needle size, you're supposed to go down in stitch count. Well, that is correct. But I have a but here, because I knit to how the garment is going to be worn and how it fits my body. That's the whole idea of this, for it to fit you. My number 8 needle is for my form-fitting sweaters or tops. It's going to just fit real snug, and it won't be open down the front most likely. Like my blue-green sweater, for those that have been with me a while. Okay, number 9 starts when I want to wear something open down the front, like a cardigan or sweater top, or something that's open down the front. I want it to be not big, not oversized, but relaxed, because I'm going to have a sweater or a blouse with a collar or something underneath it, and it's going to be open in the front. I'm not going to button it up like Look, I might be old, but I'm not old. I'm not gonna be buttoning all my buttons down the front and walking around. No. Okay. So those 4 extra stitches give me a little, it just relaxes the fabric. I have 4 extra stitches, and that is 4 stitches on the front and 4 stitches on the back. Remember, these are only like the front measurements, but you also have a back. You'd have 4 stitches on the front and 4 stitches on the back. It doesn't take that many stitches, people, to change a gauge or change the size of the pattern. 4 stitches is plenty. You start going over that, then your sweater becomes too large, wrong size, the neck's off, the arms off, everything's off. Okay, so that's my number 9. Okay, my number 10 needle, if I'm still in my medium range yarn. I'm working with a sweater that's open down the front. That's all this is. I'm talking about a cardigan or a sweater open down the front, not a tight fitting sweater or a body fitting. Okay, but this one, I'm really going to wear it on top of something. You know, it's going to be a thicker yarn, maybe not bulky weight yet. Well, it could be bulky weight, but most likely, though, I'm still working up here since I really hadn't got to bulky yet. It's going to be a nice, even more relaxed fit, but without getting that oversized look. That I don't know how else to say it, but that sloppy look. I don't know how. Once we use it, once I do a sweater in it, you'll see. In fact, I even have one where I use Karen Simply Soft yarn, and I put it on my number 10 needle, and it is beautiful. It's just like when you do lace on a larger size needle. There you go. That's a good example. Say if I was going to do something lace, and this little sweater it's a lacy little sweater that's really cute, but it's a lightweight that I'd wear more towards the spring, and we will do one. But even though it's Karen Simply Soft, and that is a definite size 8 needle that I would normally use, but I'm moving it up. I would move it up so that it's open down the front, and it's a very pretty lace on a larger needle, and that would be 100. 4 more stitches up. So that is my medium. That's what I'm working in right now. We will later go to some other, bulky and eventually go to the rectangle style sweater. But right now we're finishing up on the sweater or cardigan that starts in the back, that comes across the back and works its way up. Then you bind off the neck and separate the two fronts. Come over the shoulder, down each front. Okay. Then all you have to do is sew up the sides, pick up the stitches for any sleeves that you might want, and pick up for the front edge, any kind of front decorative edge that we're going to put on. A lot of information, but it's the same thing I've been doing. If you've been with me, even if you haven't tried it yet, even if you kind of say, well, I'm going to do it the way I normally do, this is just another tool. If you can knit with me or crochet or whatever and just use your own method, that's fine. I am not here to change anything you do, especially if it's working for you. This is another tool. This is just what I use, and I'm just simply sharing it. I'm just not one to just get on and show you all the things I've made and go, well, that's what I've made. Well, if I figured if you're gonna take the time to look, I can take the time to share it. Now, if you make it, fine. If you don't make it, or you use your own idea, this is what it's about, creating. But I'm trying to get you to knit. This is a year we're going to knit and crochet for ourselves, but I want you to be able to find your own numbers, and those become your numbers. It doesn't matter, even if you bought a pattern and she said, okay, now you for this, and you can see that it's, wait a minute, I know my sleeve wouldn't be that big. I just know my arm. I already know. I've been knitting. You're going to make it fit your body. Sure, you may have to change the design a little bit, but that's what it's for you. It's for you. And I want you to enjoy it, and I want you to feel confident. And I don't have a problem. I wouldn't even share this if this was wacko. You might say, Jane, that is wacko. I'm filming late at night, people, and I'm getting punchy. Okay. But I trust my numbers so much that I can get a yarn right now, long as it's in my range of those 3 needles and the weight, you know. I don't have to do anything, but I'll just sit there. Sometimes that's why I have a lot of needles. I'll just go ahead and cast on the ribbing and just put it aside. Now, if I've already found a stitch, I'll make a copy and put that in the bag with the ribbing and the needles and all that. If I have not found a stitch, of course, I don't know, you know, which stitch I'm gonna use, but I know that the ribbon will always be the same, or whatever. Do you understand? Or the back. Say if I say, okay, I'm not gonna add anything to the back, I'm just gonna make a straight back. Well, I can just go ahead and cast on and start knitting. And I hadn't even thought of the pattern yet, because I know it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be my numbers. It's gonna fit me. And then when I get to the shoulders, up towards the neck and everything, then I can stop and start looking through my books to find me a pattern. Okay, well, what do I want to put coming down the front? Or what do I want to do? What do I want to add anything to the sleeve? Do I want to do anything, you know? Saves you a lot of time. And like I say, it's going to be your design, your sweater, fit your body. A lot of information. Are you ready to try it? If you've been with me, surely by now you've made up your mind. Surely by now you decide, okay, she just will not give up. She just keep telling us and keep explaining. So come on off the fence, give it a try. That's why I don't use expensive yarn, to encourage you to look in your stash. All you need is maybe 3 or 4 skeins of simple yarn, the size needles that you want to use. I am 8, 9s, and 10s because I love the feel of the weight of the yarn, and I love these needles. I work well with this size. When they start getting smaller, I'm older, it cramps our hands, and so I stay away from, you know, trying to go too small because I want to continue to knit. I don't want to start having problems with my wrists and my fingers at this age. Voila. End of it. Well, what do you think? All right. I've shown you my tape. I've gone over the first part. So now all we need to do is, again, start in action. And I will clean all of this up, and we're going to start on a sweater. We're going to go ahead and just start on the back before we know what we're going to do for the front. We're going to get our numbers, and then I'm going to show you how to just get it started, and then you can make some other decisions as we go. Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Okay, let me get the yarn, get the sweater ready, and we'll be ready to roll.